What is one trick that they really don't want you to know? Story 1. You can negotiate an insurance appraisal of the value of your vehicle. So let me tell you a story. My 18-year-old son had an accident. His parked car was hit by another car. It ripped his front bumper off. The guy's insurance company instructed my son to take his car to a local body shop. They even provided him with a rental. So far, so good. My son calls me later that day and says that the insurance company is now telling him that his car is totaled. They said the repairs would exceed 75% of the value of the vehicle. They told him that they would cut him a check for $1,085 and offered to let him keep the rental for a few days until he could find another car. Such nice people. The car is a 1999 Nissan Altima GXE with 178k miles. My son thinks this is great news. Oh, really? What's your car worth? $1,085? What's your car worth? I don't know. What's the job of that guy's insurance company? What do you mean? Are they looking out for you or themselves? Themselves? You're damn skippy. Here's what they're doing, son. They went out and determined your car's value by finding the cheapest pieces of crap for sale, the same year, make, and model. They averaged all of those lowball prices together, probably deducted even more of your money, and are offering you chump change, hoping that you're a chump and will take it. Their job is to make as much money as possible. They do that by not dealing fairly and ethically with you. They do that by ripping you off. So let me tell you about how you should handle this. Go get values as they did, but be honest and fair about it. Go to NADA, Kelley Blue Book, or Autotrader.com, Craigslist, eBay. Find the same year, make, and model of your car and in the same condition as your car. Average prices together. What's the value you arrived at? $1,800. Alright, now call them back and tell them. Aw, Dad, do I have to? Can't you call them for me? Nope, you're a man now, and if you don't stand up for yourself, no one else will, and I won't always be there to do it for you. Long pause. Son, it's your money. Do you really have so much money so as you can afford to let someone else unjustly take it from you? No. It's up to you to fight for what's yours. He makes the call. They said the value they arrived at was obtained from a third-party company that averages the values of 30 cars like mine. They said they couldn't go any higher. Call her back and ask to see the third party's evaluation. He calls them back and they email him a copy of the evaluation. It clearly shows two things. They lied about how many vehicles they said they used for the evaluation. They used 7, not 30. They also lied about their value. Their own evaluation valued his cars at $1,800. Really? You haven't even accomplished enough liars to doctor the paperwork to support your own lies? Call them back, and son? Yes? Get mad. These people are trying to steal your money. They made a false misrepresentation in an attempt to take away what is rightfully yours. You should be pissed. Don't ask them for stuff, tell them what they are going to do, and tell them that they will cut you a check today for $1,800. And not only that, but they will sell your car back to you for $1. If you get any crap from them, explain to them how this will play out in court. A big bad insurance company lied and tried to cheat me out on my money. I'm just an innocent young man trying to make his way in the world. Who do you think the judges will side with? Hell, everyone hates insurance companies, even judges. For that matter, it will cost the insurance company twice the amount of questions to pay the costs associated with sending their attorney into court to fight it. My son called back less than 5 minutes later, done deal. Thank you, unnamed insurance company, for giving me the opportunity to teach my son a little important life lesson. And shame on you for not having any morals or ethics. I award you 1 gajillion great dad points. Outstanding. Story 2. Chipotle doesn't care about you trying to rip them off. Yeah, we know that the bowl gives you more and you can get extra of whatever you want. If you're slightly more committed, you can get free water and fill it with soda. Even though they now have a sign on the machine explicitly warning against it. Chipotle doesn't give a single crap. They know you're doing it and it's been accounted for in the book somewhere. What they do know is that if they let you think that you're being sneaky and you, particularly broke college kids, think that you're gaming the system and coming out ahead, you'll keep on coming back again and again. Even with responsibly sourced ingredients, the biggest cost is labor, especially when 50% of the meal is rice, beans, and tortilla. You could get a burrito the size of a baby and it still wouldn't make a dent in their budget compared to what it would have cost to have 10 people cook and serve that stuff to you. Story 3. In the US, if you've ever pursued a debt, especially if you're taken to court over it, demand that they produce documentation verifying that you owe the debt and the amount. Quite often, they won't be able to and the case will be dismissed. Most debt collectors aren't the party that you originally owed the money to, but rather companies that purchase debts in bulk for pennies on the dollar. Very often, all they have on you is your name on a spreadsheet and they're banking on the fact that you don't contest it. I got this from a recent episode of This American Life. Although I've heard this before and I'm generally aware of the requirement to prove a debt in order to obtain a court judgment. I'm not giving legal advice here though, I'm simply repeating the gist of the episode. The specific example they used took place in a courtroom where the debtor had actually been sued. I don't know what to effect this would have been done on the collector's agency's calls. They're typically not the owner of the debt but a third-party service. I believe, but I think if you still request documentation, you might be able to make some headways there as well. I don't know if the type of debt matters. A couple of people asked about student debt, but I'd imagine that sort of thing remains well documented when it changes hands. Point is, I'm not suggesting people use this as a loophole to weasel out of legitimate debts, but if someone is trying to find you legally liable for something, you should request evidence. Story 4. Some things are never really on sale. When I worked at a grocery store, the name brand sodas had a very high regular price, and then there would always be the sale on them. The sale might change at times, but the sale price would always be there. The sale price is what the company really meant to charge you anyway. After all, who wants a case of soda for $8.99 when they can buy it at $5.99 and save $3? I have heard that some department stores do this with clothes and other items. A $90 dress that is on sale for $55 was never going to cost $90. Story 5. Real estate agents who deal with rental properties get away with blue murder because they work on the assumption that you don't know what your rights are or that you'll give them up too easily. Whatever country and state you live in, if you're renting your current residence, learn your rights and stick to them like glue. This is so important. I had a real estate owner try to remove us from our home, his property, because he was selling the building and the buyers wanted the space that we were in immediately. He showed up while I was home alone with something to sign stating that I would be out at the end of the month, when we were legally required to be given 3 months. Despite his persistence to sign, I insisted that I cannot make any major decisions or documentation like that without my roommates. I told them to come back in a few hours when they were home. They were only gone for a few minutes, but I needed time. I looked up the law, printed off the Tenants Act, and ensured myself of what I can and cannot do in this scenario. When he came back, I provided him with a copy of the Tenants Act and told him that as a result of him being a reasonable landlord and us being decent human beings, we will make every effort to find a home and be out by the end of the month, but if we cannot find a home, we will not be going homeless simply because he believes he can ignore the law. What followed was about an hour of him standing at our door yelling at us, grasping for excuses to evict us, including accusing him of illegally subletting to a girlfriend who had been living with us since day one. Well, he claimed to have never met her before, and subletting isn't illegal. And generally clamoring to find every excuse to have us removed from the building. We were young adults, roughly at the age of 20. And as a result, he believed that through our own ignorance and his intimidation tactics, he could do whatever he wanted. Eventually, I was sick of this, gave up on the fight, got smug, and told him one thing. Go home, read the law, and if you want to try and evict us, come back with a formal notice. If you do, we'll be dealing with it the correct way, in court and by the law. Until then, I have nothing to say to you. He left and never came back. I didn't see him again until we collected our damage deposit and gave him the key. Hilariously, we found a better and cheaper place about a week later before the end of the month, and he was more than willing to give us a stellar recommendation to get us out of his property ASAP. Especially as young adults, people will consistently try and take advantage of your ignorance as you begin to learn the law and the way the world works. Don't let them. Story 6. Many small or medium companies that ship goods in the UPS or FedEx have very little knowledge of the buying power that they truly have. UPS and FedEx handle the majority of all small parcel shipments in America and are very willing to make adjustments in your rates if you prove yourself to be a consistent source of revenue. I started a logistics position for a considerably sized commercial printer about a year ago. We initially contacted FedEx to renegotiate our rates and now have saved about 50 cents per ground storage. FedEx completely analyzed our small parcel and freight demands and offered rates that completely eliminated UPS as a competitor. Not a month later, UPS notices the decline in local revenue that our change in our carriers had caused and is now offering us next-day rates that absolutely blow FedEx's out of the water. I'd highly suggest searching up the story of both FedEx and UPS, genuinely one of the most unnoticed rivalries in today's economic landscape. Story 7. A really cheap way to fly around places that usually cost way more to get to is to buy a cheaper ticket to some other place, possibly within a different airline, and then just make a connection in the airport that you want to end up in. So you get off there and just get back onto the flight. Some dude got in trouble for making a website that helped people find those flights. You can't check bags though, but that shouldn't be too much of an issue if you already need to be somewhere for cheap. Story 8. If you buy something secondhand, call the manufacturer and try to register it. Some companies have extended warranties on some of their products. Source found a Dyson on the side of the road. It was toast and the motor was smoking. Call Dyson for laughs and gigs and register it since the previous owner didn't. My downfall was that I only told them that I was given it and they just didn't transfer the warranties. I thought that I was out of luck and put it in the garage and then got an email about the registration saying that I'm the registered owner and have a warranty until January. Called in again saying that my unit was smoking and they booked a work order for the following day. Hey guys, you enjoying the video? If so, press the like and subscribe buttons as it really helps out the channel and it means a lot. Anyway, back to the stories. Story 9. Oh boy, I got the perfect one for this. I always tell this to people in real life when it comes up. Now, this is about how it is in Germany, where I'm from, but I guess it could be similar in other countries. Maybe some respective people can chime in. Shortly after high school, I had a short stint from a call center for a major German institution for political surveys and market research. Basically, we did cold calling and convinced people to answer some boring 20-minute questionnaires. At least it wasn't selling crap, as that would still ache my conscience until now. And about 1/3 were political surveys that people actually liked. Now, we had a one-day training course in which we were taught that, of course, we would occasionally get people who were really mad like, "Oh, you freaking call centers, I hate all of you. If you ever call me again, I will come to your house and do bad stuff to you." In which case we were instructed to calmly tell them, "Yes, sir, we will put you down on our do not call list. But there are other institutes that do this stuff and we have no control over what they do." And most people just somewhat grumbly accept. Now, here's the kicker. There actually exists a blacklist that is shared between all marketing institutions in Germany that makes sure nobody ever calls you again. How do you get on that magical list? You simply tell the guy, "If you ever call me again, I will sue you." And we've had a special menu point in our software that roughly translates to total rejector, that we were instructed to only press when the callee threatened with legal action. If you press that button, and it would call a supervisor who would take over the phone and then put you on that blacklist. It was hammered in that no matter how mad the other party would get, they would plead and curse with you. That was not point 3, total rejection, but menu point 2, normal rejection, which I would guess would really put you on the Institute's blacklist. Point 1 was just, "No thanks, bye." And that is how you get blacklisted from all call centers in Germany. As said, maybe some other ex-drones from other countries can chime in and we'll all see each other tomorrow. Story 10. Grocery stores. Everything in a grocery store is pre-designed to take as much money from you as possible. The bread and milk will be in locations where you have to walk through and to the entire store to get both, and the more expensive brands are at the eye level and they pay for this privilege. Cereal box characters look down right at children, which connects at a psychological level and makes them want more cereal. Checkout lines have candy bar at child-reaching level intentionally. New floor designs are even consulting casinos to no longer have rows and be more maze-like to keep you in the store longer. Flyers mailed to you with your name and address are tailored based on your point card buying patterns. Good smells intentionally pump in to make you hungry. The list goes on. Story 11. Speed limits. Many of them are arbitrarily set without an engineered speed study and are unenforceable as a result. This is very state-specific. If you get a ticket, print out your state's laws on setting speed limits. Many of them have a maximum speed for different types of roads and then require an engineered speed study for lower posted limits. If the posted limit was set without an engineered speed study, it may be unenforceable and you can argue this in court. Essentially, the agency posting the sign may have broken the law and you broke their law, but only because they broke the higher law first. Then go to your local road agency governing that stretch of roads, city, county, state transportation department, etc., and file a public record request for the engineering speed study on that road. They'll have to respond in writing if they don't have one. Chances are they won't have one. Take the law and their admission that they don't have one with you to court and show the judges that the speed limit is unenforceable and that you were driving a reasonable and prudent speed regardless of what it was arbitrarily posted. Source: I'm the engineer for the road department that would do said speed studies. And we don't do them because then we would have to raise the speed limits and politicians don't want us to. Story 12. You don't actually have to pay the asking price of entry into the Metropolitan Museum of Art in NYC. They make it seem like it's the price of admission, but really it's just a suggested donation. They make more money than they need to from wealthy donors. When you go to pay admission, just give them $1. My family went to New York a few times when I was in high school. One time we were visiting the Museum of Natural History, which has the same sort of deal. The suggested price was $22. There were 4 of us, so that quickly adds up, and we absolutely did not want to pay $88. Now, my mom was slightly embarrassed by going up and not paying full price, even if it was just a suggested price, so she hands my older brother $40 and tells him to get us 4 tickets. My older brother and I walk up to the admission desk and he asks for 4 tickets. The woman passes them to us and asks for admission. Instead of handing her the $40 like our mom intended, he takes out the $40, looks down at the money, looks up at the woman, and passes her $20. We walk away and my older brother gave my mom her unexpected change and my mom's face was priceless, and we walked into the museum and proceeded to be disappointed by it. Story 13. I don't know if they don't want you to know about this, but here we go. If you're going to make a purchase with an online realtor, it's often worth putting items in your cart and then leaving the site for a while, because some sites will contact you with a special offer or discount code in an attempt to persuade you back into making the purchase that you were going to make. It can save you a few bucks. It doesn't always work, but it's often worth attempting, especially with solely online retailers. Story 14. You don't have to turn your leased vehicle back to the dealer at the end of the lease. Our buyout for the last leased car was $14K. We took it to CarMax and they offered us $15K. Then I took it to a local place that advertised that they beat CarMax and they asked if I had a CarMax estimate, as I'm sure that they would probably just add about $100 or $200 on top of any CarMax offer. I said not yet. I hate that place and wanted to just bring it to you guys in first and hopefully avoid CarMax. They offered $15,900, sold it to them on the spot, and made $1,900 off a leased car. Story 15. When studying for college classes or taking online tests if you're dishonest, books.google.com is your friend. Look up your textbook and use the search box to instantly find the page number for whatever it is you're looking for. This saved my ass in both neuroscience and biology, when I would be trying to remember where in these 600-plus pages that weird case of hemiplegic neglect had been described. I know there's an index, but this was almost always faster and more accurate. Story 16. Was traveling back to New Zealand from a trip to the US with my family when I developed awful food poisoning. We did everything we could to change our flights as I was unable to travel, but it would have cost around $3,000. We ended up boarding the plane, and after 30 seconds of being on board, I vomited on a first-class passenger. Never have we received free accommodation and new tickets so fast. Story 17. I felt like this was a common sense, but people still get surprised when I tell them this. I worked at an Urban Outfitters, and everything that is put out for sale are factory flaws, as in the zipper breaks after using it once, fabric rips super easy, shrinks 2 sizes after the first wash, etc. Most of the clothes there will shrink a size down after the first wash. Seems like this just happens at a lot of stores, but the return policy is beautiful. Buy a cute dress, it shrinks, bring it back in, and you can get a full refund with the receipt, or get store credit without a receipt. Also, all the store tags come off with magnets. Just magnets. I don't like Urban Outfitters, so do what you want with this information. Story 18. I read a post where somebody bought a plane ticket but then couldn't go. Of course, airlines don't let you transfer the ticket from one person to another, so they were stuck. Or were they? The airline's customer service was run out of some country that doesn't know a James from a Jasp or a Tomas. The guy called the airline every day to correct the spelling of how the name on the ticket was every day, changing one letter at a time until the ticket was now in another person's name. Story 19. I once lost the ticket I had received while parking my car at the airport. Upon leaving, I was told that without the ticket, they would have to charge me for a full day, which was fine since I'd been parked there for a week. This was in Denver, and it was several years ago. I discovered it by accident and haven't attempted to do it on purpose since. I have no idea if it would still work now. Story 20. You don't need to buy expensive stain remover laundry detergents. I just dropped my husband's white button-up shirt in a puddle on asphalt parking lot and got it completely white again. And he still wears it regularly using liquid dish soap and a little time in the kitchen sink. Seriously, I've gotten week-old dried blood out of a knit shirt with a liquid dish soap and ground-in dark chocolate out of a white knit shirt. For wet blood, you can't beat hydrogen peroxide though. Ladies, it'll work, and you'll still have your cute undies look cute afterward.